Hello and welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining Islands of Clarity this morning. And I'm going to go into a guided meditation today, based a little bit on the post that I sent out yesterday. There was a lot of inspiration in that for me in being reminded of that quote by Viktor Frankl about there being a gap between stimulus and response. And I just felt like that was a very appropriate theme to continue for today, maybe through the rest of the week, because we have a lot of stimulus going on right now, and a lot of people are feeling quite reactive and emotionally charged as a result. And so I thought I would do our guided meditation today, focused on that to be able to share just some very simple tools for how you might learn to dwell in that space. So, when you're ready, take a comfortable position for your body. You can do this lying down or seated. Probably for this, I recommend seated because we want to be a little bit more alert for this practice. And we start by bringing our attention to the breath and just noticing how the breath is flowing, how the breath inhabits the body. And notice that relationship between breath and body. This is a constantly evolving and changing dialogue, this relationship between breath and body. And so, part of the meditation practice and why it's important to do it regularly is that we're just checking in with this relationship. How is the breath today? How is the body today? And as you begin to slow down and focus on this relationship of breath and body, you may notice residue from thoughts, beliefs, emotions, anything left over from your night's sleep or your day. And when you notice those things, you don't have to automatically push them away. You can acknowledge them and then just gently invite them to wait until after your meditation for you to attend to them. Right now, we're attending to the simplicity of our experience as mammals with breath and body. And you can count the breath if that's helpful. Sometimes, if you're overly distracted or have a very busy mind, it can be useful to count the breath. This is just a way of almost like putting training wheels on your bike. It just ensures that you won't fall off. And then allow this simplicity of breath and body to lead you into an experience of noticing when a thought or a mental event does arise. Can you notice the gap that comes just after you notice whatever is arising and the immediate response or reaction you may have to it? So, most of our thoughts don't come solo, they come with a whole entourage of judgments or reactions or criticisms or mental notes to put something on our to-do list. Notice what happens when you notice a thought. Notice the next urge that comes after that. And see if you can notice on your next thought a gap in between the two. And this gap is really the gist of this whole program. This gap is an island of clarity. And it's from this place that we develop the ability to choose our response rather than being automatically reactive. And a reaction might be something as simple as, oh, I'm distracted again. When you notice that you've been sort of disappeared from your meditation for a moment and you come back and you judge yourself for being gone for a moment, that is not a gap. That is a reaction. So next time you find yourself disappeared, as I call it, in the meditation practice, when you do come back, can you come back simply and just notice, oh, I'm back? And can you rest in that gap? And if you can't, then just notice that. And if you need from time to time to refer back to the breath and allow it to guide you back into the present moment through the body, then you can always cycle through the initial stages of the meditation. You can bring yourself home by returning to the basics. And then, as a practice, I'd like to invite you to recall a time recently where you did react. Maybe it was actually with someone in front of you or in the environment, maybe another driver. That's always a good one for reactions. Or maybe you were reacting to something that you read on the news. See if you can recall a time recently when you reacted, when you felt like you didn't have a choice of how to respond, or you chose to let go of that choice. So bring up that experience in your mind. And then notice if you could go back and replay that experience. How might you respond with a gap? How might you create space for that to arise? And how might you choose something different to what you did or to what you habitually might do? And go through the motions, the mental motions in your mind of feeling the stimulus. Let's say a driver cuts you off or does an aggressive lane change that is dangerous and it makes you feel charged for a moment. Notice the stimulus and notice how it might feel to allow a gap and to stay with that experience of whatever charge you feel. Feel the fear, feel the anger, feel the surprise or shock, or whatever else arises. Are you able to feed this into the breath? Can your body tolerate that sensation? What kind of response might you come to having absorbed this energy for a moment? And there might be no response. It might just be carrying on with what you were doing. Or it might be something else. So when we practice choosing different ways of being, our brain doesn't recognize the difference between a practice event and an actual event. There's been all sorts of studies, some with Olympic athletes, where when you mentally go through the motions of an experience, you train yourself to be adept at that. And so, in looking for gaps or islands of clarity between stimulus and response, we can train ourselves by going back over our day or our days and replaying the episodes where we might have lost it, where we might have reacted. And in this way, this becomes not only part of our meditation practice, but it also becomes part of how we train ourselves to be fully awake adults, so that there's always an adult in the room, which is not always evident these days. Oop, there's a reaction. So there you go. Let's come slowly back to the present with our journals by our sides. And we will allow this experience to infuse our journaling. And I will share the journaling prompts with you here. The theme for this is Mind the Gap. And our 3 prompts for today are: how do you notice the gap between stimulus and response? What makes that gap shorter or disappear altogether? In other words, what makes you react? And number 3, how could you create more opportunity to notice the gap? So there we go. I will set a timer for 25 minutes. I will give you a 1-minute warning. And if you'd like, you could do these one after the other, or you can just choose one and see where it leads you. So there you go. Happy journaling. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, that is the end of time for the journaling. And it would be useful, perhaps, so I'll suggest this, to just read through what you've written and maybe make a short list of opportunities throughout your daily life where you might hone in on that gap between stimulus and response, and maybe make a practice of doing that or trying to remember to do that throughout your day. You might do this is something that in the lucid dreaming practice, this is a lucid dreaming practice technique where you tell yourself that next time you walk through a doorway, you will remember to do something. So you could remind yourself when you're about to walk through a doorway that you're going to notice how you're feeling about something, or call to mind this practice. You could make a reminder for yourself that next time somebody cuts you off in traffic or looks at you in the wrong way that makes you react negatively, that you will do this practice. We can set ourselves up to train, is what I'm trying to say. So uh, when we get off this call, you could do that for yourself and maybe keep that list somewhere where you might see it every day and start training yourself to dwell in and extend this gap. So, as always, I would like to end the practice with a short dedication. And we do that by simply saying, may all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of suffering. May it be so. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to journaling with you again next week. All right, take care. And if you'd like to stay for dialogue after the recording, I welcome that, and I'll stop the recording now. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.